How are you doing?
Hey man, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks. Enjoying the summer so far. All good with you?
Yeah, I don't have the chance to enjoy the summer because I live in Southern Europe and we don't enjoy summers here.
It's too
We,
hot.
we suffer summers. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you something. I've this week, man, this week I have been saying to myself, I'm gonna find me somebody to talk about a game plan. So I want to say thanks to you for spending a little bit of time with me on a Saturday evening. I think it's going to be fun. I think we'll try to keep it a little bit short and snappy. But yeah, we're gonna take a look at Iowa City Tribe from 2065. You good to go?
I'm good to go.
Yep, cool. So I'll just give a little bit of an intro then. So I think we're having a look at Iowa because I think people in general are a little bit interested in game planning, right? That's like a popular topic that people like to see some content on. And Iowa was run at this time and for many years by a GM called Dogfan, who I don't think he's active in any leagues anymore,
No,
and
he's not.
is not right. And that means that we can actually have a little bit of a deep dive on one of his game plans without maybe kind of giving away too many secrets or something, right? That somebody could use next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to do that, we've got the stats in the game itself. You can use the team stats and the individual stats and go back to previous years, and you can extract a lot of information from there. I've also done a little bit of a deep dive into the logs, and I've pulled out what I think is 95% plus correct version of the offensive game plan that he was running that season. And yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
did that just by going through the logs and noting down the plays on down and distance. He basically ran something very, very similar every game in the regular season that year. Maybe it was the same game plan all the time because the reason for the sort of 5% where I'm not quite sure is maybe things like it can be difficult to pick out sometimes which play was a 2 minute play, either when
Yeah.
trailing or leading, can be a little bit difficult to tell when those kick in. And I think we know, right? Sometimes the offensive coordinator just throws a play in, which is not really part of the game plan, even, right?
Yeah.
Could be just something else from the playbook. And it's basically impossible to know when that happens, right? But these plays that we can see on the screen here are pulled from multiple logs. So we know that they were using them game in, game out for many of the games in that season. And all of the stuff on the spreadsheet here, I'll put a link in the video description. And then there's also going to be a link to another file. But first of all, just to say this is just pulled from the log. So anybody can do this for any game plan, for any team. If you want to dive deeper into what they were doing, you can just go through manually, basically, and pull out the plays. And then the other thing we've got here, something that not everybody can do, because this is using a little application that I designed. But basically, what we can see here is this is an application which takes all the game logs from a given period. In this case, it's the regular season 2065, and it passes all those game logs and spits out what was the result of the plays that were run, right? So broken down by the offensive situation. We know what's the total number of yards this game plan generated, and we know how many plays there were, so that gives us the average yards per play. And then it's further broken down into running plays and passing plays. And we have a column for percentage success. So success is defined differently for depending on which down it is. But a first down, I think if you make 4 yards, that counts as a success, if I remember correctly. Third down is obviously a success if you make all of the yards that you need. Um, and then there's this over under column, which basically tells you by how much did you exceed the amount that you needed, or how much did you fall short of the amount that you needed. So if you had a over under of 200, that would mean on average you generated double the number of yards that you would
Mm-hmm.
need to be classify a play as a success. Yeah, like I said, this is an application that I produced myself out of curiosity. I don't actually use it that much. I don't think it gives me a massive edge in game planning, game to game, but it does allow me to kind of get an overview of where a game plan is maybe stronger or weaker, and make adjustments accordingly, right? So it doesn't tell you anything about the defense that was played, for example, right? So it's just kind of big picture number stuff. And I'll also upload this document and link it for anybody who's interested and wants to dig in a little bit. Yeah, but I think that's the overall introduction. Maybe we could sort of start here, and I would ask you, Rode, what's your, having the sort of being able to see all the plays and having some idea how they perform, do you have any sort of overall thoughts about how DogFam went about structuring the game plan? Or I mean, feel free to just kind of start giving some comment, basically.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed was that he ran for over 3,000 yards with this game plan. He
Yep.
had very good running backs and a very strong O-line, but
Mhm.
the first thing I noticed was that he just ran 52% roughly in first down.
Yep.
And I was expecting something like, I don't know, maybe 65 or 60 at least.
Mhm.
So he looks like he basically fine-tuned his game plan to. So his running game was effective whenever he used it.
Yep. That's
And
clear. We can, if we just switch tabs here quickly, so we can see that he was the only team that season 2065 that rushed for more than 3,000 yards. He was well over 3,000, almost 200 yards per game. He had one of the very best averages as well. And that average is very high considering the number of rushes, right? 560, that's also one of the highest in the league. So even though he's only running 52% of the time on first down, he's still rushing more than 550 times on the season, right?
Yeah.
So this gameplay is generating a lot of run plays, basically.
Yeah.
That would also have something to do with the fact that he was probably quite often ahead in games, right? Because those kind of 3 run plays and a punt that you quite often see when you're ahead late in the fourth quarter, they do add up if you do that enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but and we can see here, right, that he ran even less on second down. There's a lot more passing than you might expect from a heavy run sort of game plan here, right? 37%. That's not that
very
high.
low. It's very low. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you would expect out of a balanced or even slightly pass first, but
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even make 50% of the time on average. It's like 45 or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. And he actually had a balanced offensive coordinator to run this scheme as well. So it's a bit of a funny situation, right? There's a number of reasons to say, well, actually, this is more like a balanced game plan, except for the fact that it generated the highest number of rushing yards on the season, and he tended to do that season in, season out. And if we look at the passing game, we'll come back to the individual analysis a little bit later. It's the second least number of passing yards on the season, right? So it's extremely run focused in that sense, right? It doesn't generate it generates very low number of passing yards per game. It generates less passing yards, which is quite unusual in general, I think, and generates a very high number of running yards. So yes, it's balanced, but the end result was heavily run focused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we did a little bit of preparing for this call. You also mentioned, I think, when we were getting ready, that he actually had a scrambling quarterback running this game plan as well, and that might be quite important in how he thought about the structure of it, right? Because he might have thought, well, I'm actually going to get runs from my quarterback as well, just as a natural side effect of not seeing an open receiver when the game plan calls for a pass.
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
scrambled over 100 times this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's significant per game, right?
Yeah. I mean, it basically gave him like 25% extra runs per game. If you go to the lineman tab,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see there
Yep.
he had offensive percentage, blocks of 80.1. So that basically means that 20% were not available for blocking for the O-line. That's scrambles.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
So that's an extra 25%.
Yeah, and he also was sacked a fairly high number of times for a team that's running a lot, maybe as well.
Yeah,
5.7% of plays. That would also reinforce the idea that there was kind of unscheduled scrambles, some of which he was getting nailed on, right?
yeah, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm I'm not 100% sure, but I think that quarterback sack um sense rush bar was not
Mm.
that great. I might be it might be wrong, but I think it was
Well,
not.
let's actually take a quick look because that will illustrate one of the things that's a little bit tricky in going back to an old game plan like this is it's not that easy to see the bars of the players, right? Now you can see them, but it's not that easy to visualize them. So if I have a look at 2065, so this was our guy, Damian Mills. Now he's still at he's still there running he's still there running the game plan. In fact, I actually hadn't realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's not good at rush, he's not good at sense rush now. Let's have a look what he was like in 2065. His sense rush was 28.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was never built to pass the ball a lot, this guy, was he?
Yeah. Yeah.
And assuming he had some similar kind of profile like this, it's all screen and deep, and scramble, right?
Yeah.
And a long passing style as well. It's quite interesting because as we will see, well, let's maybe actually jump into that now and take a look at the passing game because he's got that big deep passing bar.
And he never passed deep.
But he never passed deep, right? At least not on his primary target. So this breakdown part at the top here again, this is just generated manually by going through the down and distances. What
Hmm.
this tells us is that in his game plan, this is the routes down the left side, and across the top, it's the possible receivers for the different formations. And what we can see here is that outside of X, Y, Z, almost nothing in terms of primary receivers. There's a couple of things to the fullback, and there's one pass to the slot guy in a 1-1-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Very heavy reliance on the two outside receivers and the tight end. And in this season, he actually had a really good tight end as well.
Yeah.
Singleton, I think it was, right? But yeah, but that's exactly right. When we look down the right side here, this is how many times he passed to each distance, or the depth of the route for the primary target. And there are two primary targets deeper than a 5 and nothing deeper than a 7.
Yeah.
So this is really short, medium range stuff only. And yet his quarterback was a good deep ball thrower, right? And still is, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only thing he's still good at.
The only thing he's not too bad at a screen either, but yeah. And if we look here, this is just from the in-game. Is this going to tell us? Actually, no, this is just the raw numbers. Let's pull the game up quickly. For the team stats, 2065, miscellaneous passing. I just sort by the name of the teams. Yeah, so he had 25 attempts and 8 completions on long distance passing, which I think is a route 7 or deeper, right? I think that's a long pass.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, there's secondary receiver routes that are not really taken into consideration, but that's less than 2 per game, right?
Yeah.
So he's really not throwing deep.
No.
I mean, in my world, that's a conservative game plan when you're throwing deep that
Oh yeah, it is.
infrequently, right? That's playing pretty safe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He based most of, I think his game plan was based on ball control and winning the turnover battle
mhm.
and just run over people because when he got ahead on the scoreboard, it was almost impossible to stop because he would
Yeah,
run
he's
over
just
you.
just chewing the clock, chewing
Yeah.
the clock. Yeah, yeah, and he did score a fairly healthy number of points that season. Not dramatically huge number, but of course it's a primarily running game as we've discussed. So it's never gonna average 35 points a game or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Let,
Small
let's
number of possessions. So
yeah, exactly, right. Let's take a quick look at the run directions because there's something interesting here, I think, as well, isn't there? Do you wanna give a comment on this one?
oh yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. He he never ran out of uh, the left around the left hand.
Yep,
He just ran around the right hand.
yep,
So I guess he had a very good blocking right tackle, and
yeah.
then he
He
basically
he
ran down the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle, right, either side of the center. So his center was his best lineman. I had a little look over the players themselves. Anyone can take a look in the game and see the numbers. So his center was his best run blocker,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of 3-4 runs here. So either side of the center, his right tackle was good. His left tackle was not that bad at stopping the run, by the way.
Hmm.
Run blocking. Sorry. Um, yeah, but he didn't run there at all. And I think to some people this is quite. I think a lot of the time when you look at game plans, people go for more balance than this, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the crazy thing about this team that he would run for almost 200 yards a game
Hmm.
at basically 5.6 yards per carry and
Mm-hmm.
not balanced it out at all. It was pretty one-dimensional, but you can nobody couldn't stop the guy
What what
anyway.
what what do you? Yeah, and he had a lot of things right. He had a lot of offensive line cohesion, for example. A lot of these guys were older guys. Some of them were actually basically declining by the time we got to 2065. They weren't at the peak of their powers.
Hmm.
So and he obviously had really good running backs. I think one or two of them had basically 100 hole recognition. His lead back was a real bell cow type, 65 plus overall, right? So he had a lot of bars, and then his backup guys were 50 rated type guys, so they were also pretty good as well.
Yeah.
This 8 runs to the outside the right tackle, it's really unusual, and I'm wondering whether he felt like his tight end was helping him out here as well.
Hmm.
A bit hard to say how much effect that has really, because I don't think you will see that in the key run blocking opportunities on the individual level because of the just the way they're kind of randomly assigned. I think that's what most of us think, right? That they just kind of get handed out, well, semi randomly basically
Yeah.
in the stats at
Yeah. Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
um,
and the
yeah,
few times he ran to the left, he was ultra effective, almost
yep,
over 8.5 yards per carry. And to the
yep,
right, he was 6.6, which is very good too.
yeah. And almost all of those runs to the left are reverses.
Oh yeah. I
There's
think
one running back run out of the backfield, sort of running back in the A slot or whatever
all
to
right.
outside the left tackle, but the other ones are just reverses.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think that's also something that's quite often you see, right? When you do something a small number of times, you can generate high numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you pass to a receiver relatively infrequently, they can have pretty high yards per target on a if they get a few lucky dice rolls over the season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least this is what theory or common knowledge says.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we can see that too. But I mean, these other averages are just perfectly fine as well. It's 6.6 out, running outside to the right and so on.
Yeah.
But let's
It
let's
was
take a look.
basically
Let's take a little
unstoppable.
look at when he was doing some of these things, right? So if we go back to the downs and distance here, um, mean, one thing just on the running backs that jumps out to me, he had these really productive running backs. He didn't throw to them, hardly ever. There
No,
are no primary routes targeting running backs.
no, he had a fullback.
He had a fullback that gets into the game a couple of times. So we can see a screen pass here on first, second down, 3 to 5.
Yeah, third and one, two.
Third and one, he's running a slant.
Yeah, another slant in red zone, and that's basically it.
And a slant in the red zone, yeah.
Well,
So that's where the fullback comes in. You got a
yeah,
few running backs in the secondary target slots, usually running a screen or a dig or something like that. Quick out, maybe. But pretty low use of the running back. And actually, that also fits what I saw. None of them were good receivers. They were just pound the rock guys, basically, all of them.
yeah.
So he quite sort of specialized use of his players in some sense, right? Okay, running backs, you carry the ball. Receivers, outside receivers and tight ends, you get the passes, basically, right? That's how this thing's set up.
Yeah, yeah, even that fullback, I mean, he just used him in formations where he was clearly trying to get a first down or
Mm-hmm.
a score. I mean, first or second down, 3 to 5 yards, and you throw a screen, that's basically okay, try to get me the first down.
Yeah.
Third and one, and you throw a slant, you're basically saying the same thing. Get me a
Mm-hmm.
first down.
Yep.
So yeah, I think he tend to use his players for very specific roles.
Yep.
And yeah, we can move to that tight end you talked before, Singleton.
Yeah.
He had like 20 touchdowns, 20 receiving touchdowns. That's
Yes,
basically the same
he
thing.
did. Let's have a look here. Individual stats. So he got 170 targets to the tight end on the season. 91 catches, 20 TDs. That's good. That's really good. Yards per target was pretty low.
Yeah.
That number jumped out at me a bit because he was a good receiver, this guy. And sure, it can go up and down a little bit, but I think that shows you that it's relatively, yeah, it just speaks to the conservative nature of how the passing game is structured, right? Because this guy, for me, he'd be running 7, 8 type routes a lot and getting thrown to on those type routes as well, right? So his yards per target would be probably a lot higher than that if I was designing a game plan for him. But he scored 20 TDs, got best part of 1,000 yards, and was by far the most targeted receiver.
Oh yeah, but he targeted the guy 50 times in the red zone
Mm-hmm.
and 33 times in third down. So that's like basically half the time he was targeting this player
Yeah,
in those specific situations. So
yeah. The hardest catches, the most critical plays. He gave it to
yeah,
his best guy, basically.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so one other quick note here is the game plan the game begins, in fact, with a reverse. And I don't know, for those of you who like to look into game plans, that is something I mean, I can't get over how many guys start with a reverse.
Oh yeah, I
Byland
usually do.
starts with a reverse. Okay, you start with a reverse. Bylander starts with a reverse. I mean, you see this all over the place, right? I think, so far as I know, Dogfan is the guy who started the craze, right? And this is like like a fingerprint for like a Dogfan game plan or something, is to start with a reverse out of a passing formation, basically. Is there anything to this, or is it just a bit of fun?
No, 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 no. I've never seen this. I didn't even know that he did this. I just do it because of chemistry.
Okay, okay.
And,
So
and because it is the formation where I can stick any wide receiver or any running back
Mhm.
and just one tight end because you're going to play basically at best you're going to have four tight ends roster, but you'll have like 10 or I'll have 12 running backs and wide receivers.
Right, right, yeah.
And because I go for chemistry, I use the 1-4 0-1-4 because I
So you can
can,
get the tight end in there as well.
yeah, one tight end and four wide receivers slash running backs.
Yeah.
But there's not, at least in my case, there's nothing else.
So the chemistry is actually a good point. That definitely could be a thing, right?
Yeah, I don't remember if Dogfan chased the chemistry effects. I can say it.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, we're just kind of hypothesizing, and that could be a thing. But
Absolutely.
I thought it was interesting when I saw this, and I actually have asked around a little bit. So I noticed that so many people use reverse. I was curious where it came from, and I have heard that is like it's considered could be a dog fan thing, right? That's maybe where it started. I think he's been doing this for many seasons.
Yeah,
But
probably he was
I
probably
mean,
the first. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Just because he was one of the old dogs, so
yeah,
I
exactly.
know there's other people who Rick does the
Yeah,
same.
exactly. Rick Bissido
RGB7.
is another guy who does it. Yeah, I've seen it all over the place. I basically refuse to do this because
Because you want to be different.
I want to be different. Yeah, exactly. Let's not get bogged down in like first play reverses. Maybe let's have a little look at maybe third. Should we take a look at the third downs? Have a little look
Yeah,
what we can sort of pull out here. I mean, one thing that or a couple. Okay, one thing that I see is that there's not a lot of running on third down. For someone who's sort of renowned as producing these running teams, there's more passing here than I might expect. And the only
yeah,
the only situation where it's all run is 3rd and 3. And I think we can safely say that's a 3rd and long situation for the defense, right? So that
yeah,
is, I would imagine, trying to trying to catch a defense off guard, with a cover 2, cover 3, two deep,
yeah,
3 deep, whatever, and just run the ball straight up the middle and punish them for it.
yeah. I
Now,
have I read the same.
now let's just take a quick look at the old log parser here, because what we will see is that this was not very effective.
No.
Less than 30% of the time did he make first down on 3rd and 3, and we can see here it's correct. There's no passing plays in the whole of the regular season at that down and distance. When he made it, he ripped off a bigger run, but it didn't work that well, actually. In fact,
No.
these 3rd and short situations, okay, these ones are a bit better when he's passing. Yeah, but 3rd and 3, that was maybe something that if he had had access to this log passer, maybe he would have changed what he was doing there, right? Because these plays are really poor, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a little sort of thing that you can pull out with this other
Yeah.
tool. Anything
Yeah.
jump out at you from 3rd down? Oh, sorry, please carry on.
No. What I was about to say was one thing we mentioned earlier, and that's the quarterback being a scrambler because the quarterback
Mm,
scrambled 32 times, which is basically twice a game in third down situations. So
mm.
you're expected to have like maybe 12 for third down, 12 third down attempts a game. If you're running twice,
Oh,
you're basically running 15% of the time on a passing play.
yeah. Although presumably those are a bit longer, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, four,
probably so,
four and
yeah.
5 yards to go and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing maybe that jumps out to me here is that this game plan, especially on the 3rd and slightly longer distances, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 16, he's just throwing to the sticks, right? Not
Yeah,
going deeper. And he's not going shorter and throwing maybe a flat or a screen or something and hoping to get yards after the catch. These are just targeting my workhorse receivers at the sticks, pretty much, aren't they? That's a clear
yeah.
design feature here that jumps out, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And, and
if you
sometimes with
notice,
double or triple routes.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
And if you notice, he basically targeted the same three guys as primary and secondary receivers. In third and
yeah,
eight, to 12 yards, there's just a secondary target to the slot, and the rest are the flanker, the split end, and the tight end.
That's right. And the split end is getting the primary target only when it's a real third and long situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a quick look at the at this here as well. What we can see here on the log passer is actually he spent a lot of the season in 3rd and 6 to 7 or shorter, right? These
Yeah.
are by far the most common situations that he found himself in. Okay, 3rd and 10s, you normally expect that number to be a bit higher. But he was quite often in 3rd and achievable, wasn't he? So that's maybe another nice feature of what we see here. The
Yeah.
overall design of the gameplay, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that we're gonna wrap this up actually in a couple of minutes, right? But before we do that, any thoughts on the targeting in the red zone or the depth of route or something like that?
Well, you see, it's wheel targets, which a lot of GMs like in the red zone,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then throws down the middle.
Throws down the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he throws in a sort of heavy set in the once he gets inside the opposition 6. That's his go-to play earlier in the game. Just a YT heavy pass block,
Yeah.
heavy pass protection. Yeah. 2 short routes there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he used that play before, which is something most people don't want to do. So he used that play in first, second down, 3 to 5 yards. He had that play too.
So he did, right? So yeah. So this is actually a game plan which recycles plays at different down and distances as well, quite a lot actually, which is why it's only got 57 different plays.
Yeah.
And you could recreate this game plan, and almost any OC has got 57 plays, right? Most of them have that number or higher. So this is something that almost any OC could reuse as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cute. That's funny because this game plan goes against what most people believes are truths set in stone. And then you see this, and these guys was so successful doing things that most people think you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And no, or only one run in the red zone, right? At least on 1st and 2nd down.
Yeah.
So again, sort of really starts to lean on the pass once he gets close to the goal line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of. Please, if you got another comment.
No. He kind of adhere to that to that statement of pass to score, run to win.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, you can see that absolutely clearly here. And again, when we looked at the tight end, he was making the big money on these wheels and slants in close to the goal line, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things we could dig into here, but I think we wanted to keep this kind of short and snappy to some extent, and maybe just give people a few little, maybe they stumble across something that they hadn't noticed themselves, or just hopefully something interesting that everyone can find. But like I said, I'm going to share the documentation, so anybody can feel free to recreate the game plan. They can dig in a bit deeper to some of the areas that are interesting. A lot of the stats are here or in the game, and I'll share the results of the log passer as well. I think I just wanted to say thank you, Road, for lending us the benefit of your expertise. It was interesting to hear your thoughts on this one.
No, I was just an invite. You put the work. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no
Thank you so
problem at all,
much.
man. No, it's good to hang out with you and have a chat. And if people find this interesting, maybe we'll do another one in the future.
For sure. I'll be there.
Cool. Thanks again, man. Let's wrap it here. And yeah, you take care. Have a good rest of the weekend.
Yeah, take care, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye bye.